来光よ、照らし出せ。天の先行を受けなさい。苦難を超え、心を澄ませます。見届けなさい。これが私の意志です。神聖へと導きます。
Hello friends, Clage back with another Punishing Grey Raven guide today, and we are going to be talking about our favorite medic and healer, but in this case our medic and healer who's also cocking the gun, Liv Limpidity. Liv arrives as our newest S-rank lightning attacker and will be replacing Crimson Weave. I know it's coming. I knew it was coming. I've known it's coming. But damn if it doesn't sting to actually say it out loud. Nonetheless, Liv will also be bringing with her the Dark Flow elemental effect. This now gives us a full-fledged Dark Flow team of modern characters consisting of Liv herself, Vera Garavor, and Watanabe. I'm not going to be going over the Dark Flow aspect of Liv's kit in this guide. That will get its own dedicated guide once I have more time to test and see how the Dark Flow team is actually going to function in actual combat and not just on paper. So today we'll be focusing entirely on Liv's lightning kit. In addition, Liv also marks the beginning of a new era for Punishing Grey Raven. Not only are we now completely and totally globally synced up, but Liv is the first character to have timestop not just on her ultimate, but in other parts of her kit as well, which is no doubt going to drastically change our approach to rotation building as time goes on, and we get more characters that will likely also have this new wrinkle in their kits. In addition to all of that, Liv marks the era of the very first set of limited characters in Punishing Grey Raven. With the new Phylotree Nexus summoning system, we now have actual factual limited characters in this game, meaning that you can only pull Liv from the duration of her banner. Once this banner is gone, you will have no way to obtain this character until she is put back into the Phylotree Nexus summoning system. So that is going to drastically impact my pull and recommendations for how much you invest, especially with the entirety of her kit, because the limited summoning system also applies to her weapon and her cubs. So I'm not going to do a full-fledged breakdown on the limited summoning system. That deserves its own video, and I will talk about it in depth and what it means going forward. But just note that Liv is an actual factual limited character. Once she's gone, she's gone. You're not going to be able to pull her from a lucky pull on the standard banner, nor are you going to be able to get her on any kind of S-rank selector, at least not anytime soon. There may be a time somewhere down the line where Liv is available as an S-rank choice on some kind of selector we get as a reward for various patches and milestones, but since this is our first start of limited characters, I do not expect to see Liv on any selectors or any easy way to get her once her banner is gone. So please keep that in mind for the duration of this guide. So as always, with all my guides, we'll go over everything you expect. We'll talk evolutions, memory builds, weapons, Liv's cub, and of course her team compositions. And as always, I will give a full breakdown of her combat kit, teach you how the character works from the ground up so you can better understand what we're doing. And of course, I also will have some suggested rotations to get you started at various investment levels. As a quick reminder, we are now in a globally synced PGR. No one has much field time with this character yet. She is going to evolve greatly as people learn how to maximize potential rotation options. So once we get to that part of the video, because I know a lot of you just kind of jump in and go straight to the rotations, just remember, rotations are not something you're meant to set in stone and think they're going to stand the test of time. I am just giving you a baseline example rotation that seems to fit the kit the way it is put on paper and how it appears they want us to play the character. But expect these rotations to evolve and change drastically as players find more optimizations and better routing with not only Liv, but the rest of her teammates and any new characters that join her teams down the line. So with all that covered and out of the way, let's start getting into the good stuff. And as with always, we will start with Liv's evolution. So at S5, when you use Heavenly Flash, which is her hold dodge attack while she is in base form, while having a full 4 stack of her flying blades, as well as using either of her signature moves, will activate all available QTEs, the S5 standard that we've come to expect on every modern character. At double S, When Liv first enters the field, she will gain 4 of her flying blades, which is the maximum she can have, and 24 signature energy the first time she uses her hold dodge skill while in base form. So basically, you're allowed to use the hold dodge. You will automatically generate the blades, and you don't have to worry about building them up manually once you are at double S. In addition to that, when you use her hold dodge in base form, and you have access to her white fixed orb when she is in her ultimate mode, the base damage of both of those will be increased by 40%. After casting her final ultimate and leaving the field, Liv will launch attacks every 2 seconds, dealing 2,000 lightning damage 4 times. This is very similar to the other modern attackers we have seen, where they do some kind of off-field attack once they have cast their ultimate and then leave the field. If you cast her ultimate with maximum delicate heart stacks, and we'll talk about those in the combat demonstration, she will deal an extra instance of 2,000% damage, basically adding a 5th attack to the 4 that are already available. So at double S3, which is a pretty solid upgrade all around, when entering her ultimate mode, she will automatically gain 2 white orbs and 12 signature energy. After casting her final ultimate with maximum stacks, she will gain 2 flying blades when she reverts back to her base mode. The hold dodge ability while in her ultimate mode and her hold basic while in ultimate mode both get their base damage increased by 80%. And after casting her final ultimate, her QTE damage is increased for 1,000% throughout the battle. This is another common passive we are seeing at double S3 or triple S on various modern attackers, so no different here. Once you've done Liv's rotation once and casted her full ultimate, she's going to do way more QTE damage for the duration of the fight, so keep in mind if you have Liv at double S3 or higher, you're likely going to want to get her on the field ASAP so you get that QTE bonus. At triple S, which is a pretty massive upgrade, I'm not going to lie about it. Her hold basic in her ultimate mode will now trigger time stop if the second half of the skill is used. Basically, her hold basic attack requires you to build up a set of a gauge, and if you are using it at max stacks, it will cause time stop for the final bit of the animation. This is time stop that exists outside of her ultimate. It is a very big deal. That is a thing that just happens now. In addition to that, all of her signature moves deal 90% more damage. And during her off-field attacks after she has left the field and casting her ult, her extra damage will be bumped up by another 100% there. So as for triple S3, 6, and plus, the extra damage of her hold basic and hold dodge skills in her ultimate mode go up by 50%. The extra damage of her hold basic and the fixed white orb, hold dodge while in standard mode and the fixed white orb in ultimate mode are both up by 50%. And lastly, the extra damage of her final ultimate is increased by 40% at triple S plus. With the evolutions out of the way, let's go ahead and talk memory builds. Right now, Liv really only has one singular memory build you need to worry about, and that's going to be using her 4-piece signature set, Natasha. This gives a modest increase to her base attack as well as lightning and dark flow damage. More importantly, it enhances the base damage effect of her delicate heart stacks. This is what enhances her final ultimate and does a massive amount of damage. Her ultimate is the key cog in her kit, like most modern attackers are, so this is a pretty massive return for having the 4-piece set of her signature option. As for the second set, if you are using not her signature weapon, you only have 2 memory slots available, you will still be using Kadi. If you have her signature weapon and can harmonize, you will harmonize to 4-piece Kadi. This is really all you're gonna need right now. There's not really any other reason to build any other memory sets for Liv. Her damage kit is entirely based around her ultimate, and she is going to operate quite well with her base signature set in Kadi. As for your resonances, on the bottom you want to resonate her signature, and up top any 15 attack will work fine since she is not a physical character. Do note that down the road it is highly likely there will be another memory build for Liv, as with the release of this patch we also get a new memory set called Point Care. This is a dark flow based memory set. Whether or not it is going to be the go-to or something we want to use on Liv for her dark flow rotations, we don't know yet. Once I get to the dark flow team, I will go over that and we'll figure out if that is worth investing in or not. But just note that is likely to be the other memory set that will come into play somewhere down the road when dark flow is a regular thing we're seeing in Warzone and Pain Cage going forward. As for Liv's weapons, I am happy to report that Liv is not locked behind her signature weapon for her rotation. She can perform the rotations I'm going to share with you in this guide without having her signature weapon. However, the signature weapon is a massive boost. This is not translated, so I'm just going to do some annotations over the top of it. But Liv's signature weapon gives a 10% base attack increase, and the damage of her hold basic and hold dodge skills while in ultimate form are both increased by 50%. And when she uses her final ultimate, she is going to gain 2 signature orbs and will gain a 3rd signature orb, or signal orb, if her delicate heart stacks are maxed out at 12 when she casts her final ult. As always, the big benefit of getting the signature weapon is, of course, the ability to resonate and harmonize. Harmonizing to 4-piece Kadi is going to be a lot of extra damage, and weapon resonances are a very nice bonus on Liv. That said, if you have the signature weapon and you are intending to resonate, you don't really need deadline timing on this character from my testing. There is one niche rotation that I'll share that's going to be mostly focused on Pain Cage and short fights, where deadline timing does become a requirement, but for 99% of what you're doing, you will not need deadline timing on this character. If you are going to pull her signature weapon and resonate it, I would recommend Matrix Lightning first, followed by Glorious Afterglow, and Incandescence if you're going for the full 3 resonances. Again, if more options come down the road where deadline timing becomes the ideal resonance, it's always good to have the option. But for most of my testing, Liv just doesn't really need DLT for the kind of standard rotations that seem to work best for what she has under the hood. So, signature weapon not required. Sure, rotations will work, but again, it's limited. You don't get to harmonize and resonate, so probably strongly worth your consideration if you can get it. Liv's Cub is pretty dang good, I'm not gonna lie. This has a pretty massive bonus on it, the main reason being that the final skill that's available on this comes with not only the Cub joining in on her main rotation attacks to do some extra damage, but the big change here is that the base damage of her signature, her full ultimate, increases by 75% with this skill, and if you cast it with max delicate heart stacks, which is something you're going to be doing often with this character, it increases by a further 75%. That is a 150% increase to the base damage of her ultimate. Her ultimate is the crux of her kit. So this is a powerful Cub. This is a lot of damage. This is one of the bigger Cub boosts I have seen in a while. So the Cub is quite good. It does not have any grouping on it. It doesn't need it. Liv's kit has grouping on it just fine, so you're not going to need it for those purposes. But if you have the extra Cub tickets available and can afford to pick it up, because it is also limited, just like the rest of Liv and her equipment, definitely highly consider getting the Cub in this case. This is a big boost. This thing's powerful. No joke. So, with all of those out of the way, what are my actual investment recommendations for Liv Limpidity? So, as always, baseline, get her to SS, pull your 1 copy from the limited gacha, get your Pain Cage shards, and evolve her to SS. You need to have her at SS. She will not function below it. This is how it works. You all know this by now. After getting her to SS, I highly recommend getting her signature weapon right afterwards. Again, the ability to harmonize and resonate is very powerful on every character. Liv is no exception. After that, I actually recommend the Cub. I think the Cub is almost as good as the signature weapon. It's not the same because the signature weapon obviously enables more flexibility in memory builds and resonances are incredibly powerful, but the Cub is no slouch. It's going to show you a massive increase. After you have the Cub, then I would recommend going to SS3, SSS, and beyond. SS3 is a solid upgrade. It will get you more damage. It is not what I would call a linchpin upgrade like characters such as Han Ying or Selena Pianissimo, but it's still a solid boost. SSS is massive. Triple S is a big old buff to this character. The ability to get time stop outside of ultimate is no joke. So if you are in whale territory, you can go to Triple S with this character. You're going to see a pretty massive return on it, but definitely recommend getting the weapon and the cub before worrying about going to SS3, Triple S, and beyond. So as for Liv's team compositions, let's get into a battle system here so we can take a look at that real quick. So the meta Lightning team going forward will consist of Liv as the leader. Got my starter wrong because I've been editing the teams a lot, but we'll go over that in a minute. But Liv will be the leader. I feel like the best way to set this team up currently is to have Liv on red. 21 will be the amplifier, acting as full support on blue, and Nana Knight on yellow as the team's tank. So as for the builds for Nana Knight and 21, not much changes here. Nana Knight will stick with her base Warzone memory set, 4-piece Herschel, 4-piece Heisen. If you can afford it right now, I do recommend strongly getting a second copy of this set of memories built for Nana Knight that swaps out her lower resonance from Ultimate to the tank class. You'll probably want that for Pain Cage runs. Liv is going to take over being a Pain Cage boss nuker in Lightning Week Pain Cage fights, so you're not going to need Nana Knight to have her signature resonated anymore on the bottom for those fights. That said, Nana Knight still does take up a nominal amount of field time. Liv is not a solo artist by any stretch, so you'll want this set that still has her signature for Warzone runs, but it is worth having a secondary set that acts exactly the same but utilizes the tank class on the bottom resonance for the Pain Cage going forward. 21 will not be seeing any field time. She's a very, very, very outdated amplifier, but she is still the meta amplifier for the Lightning team. You'll have her on a full support memory setup, 4-piece Da Vinci. And then if you do not have her weapon harmonized, you will either do 2-piece Guinevere or 2-piece Einstein. You'll want to do some testing to see what works better for you. And if you do have her harmonized, obviously you want both 2 pieces, Guinevere and Einstein. As for resonances, they stay the same. Class skill on the bottom for the amplifier buff, and any attack 15 up top will work fine for 21. Again, she won't be seeing the field at all, so you do not need to run her Will Cub. You can run Lingya just to have something to pass on if you really want to. You're never going to use orbs with her, so it's not really necessary. So run whatever Cub you have available. If you have her signature Cub, that's also fine. It doesn't really matter because, again, 21 won't see the field. As for alternative options, if you are lacking 21 or Nana Knight, your first option to replace either should, of course, be Ishmael. Ishmael is the de facto replacement for any tank or amplifier on an elemental team if you don't have them available. If you do not have Ishmael nor either of the main Lightning meta counterparts, the budget options you have available are not massive, but they do exist. If you happen to have Vera Garnet from back when she was the meta Lightning tank, she can slot in as a replacement for Nana Knight. And if you do not have anyone, you're a newer player who started with the Global Sync, or maybe you're starting right now because this is an anniversary patch, Chrome Arclight can be a fine A-rank Lightning tank to hold down the fort until you can eventually either get Nana Knight or Ishmael to come in and fill that role as needed. So free-to-play option, go with Chrome Arclight. Again, if you happen to have old Vera Garnet, that's an option. And then, of course, Ishmael at the top. For another budget option, if you are lacking 21 and now don't have her available for this team, and you don't have Ishmael to slot in as a replacement amplifier, you can do one of two things. You can either A, take your most well-built elemental amplifier you have available. So if you have Vera Garavor built, you can bring her in and just put her in a full support setup to still get the amplifier buff for the team. If you do not have another elemental amplifier built, and by elemental I mean don't use physical, don't use Veronica or Alyssa for this, because then you're getting even less from them because they do not have the elemental shred aspect to it. But if you do not have an amplifier available to slot in as a budget option, you can go ahead and grab Liv Lux. She is an A rank. She was the Lightning support for literally eternity for a long time and still can hold her own as a very low budget option. You would build her the same way, 4-piece Da Vinci and then either 2-piece Guinevere or 2-piece Einstein, whichever you find works better for you. But those will both work as budget options on the team if you do not have 21 or Nana Knight available. So that pretty much covers everything in terms of team compositions and all of Liv's options for equipment and all that good stuff. So the question automatically becomes, should you pull Liv? Do you need me to answer this question? Yeah, she's a limited S-rank attacker that replaces one of our most outdated attackers, as much as that pains me to admit. Liv is going to be a massive boost to the team that is, quite frankly, dragging the furthest behind at the moment in terms of its ability to output DPS. Even against a triple S plus Crimson Weave that is decked out to the nines with everything you can give her, Liv at double S with her 5-star weapon is still an upgrade. There is absolutely no reason to not pull this character, and even more than usual because she's limited. So if you're watching this guide, I'm assuming you're planning on pulling her, but if you're looking for someone to give you the validation to should you pull Liv, yes, you should absolutely pull this character. The Lightning team needs a boost. Liv thankfully gives a massive one to it. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead, get over into training mode, and I will start teaching you how Liv's new kit works. Okay, so let's go over Liv's combat kit in its entirety. Just like always, I want to go through each piece of her kit throughout her base mode and her ultimate mode to make you better understand how the character works at the ground level, and that'll make it easier to apply the ideas I'm going to show off in the rotations I've come up with, so you better understand how she flows and how to kind of maximize your efficiency with the character regardless of what investment you're at. So Liv is thankfully kind of a straightforward character, especially for a modern attacker. She is not nearly as complex or does not have nearly as many funky wrinkles as, say, Bianca's new frame had with all the weird cancels, the perfect palm strike. Liv doesn't really have anything like that. Her kit's a lot more straightforward and pretty easy to understand. So let's go through each piece and kind of talk about what Liv has available. So Liv has 2 modes, base mode and ultimate mode. Let's go through all the base mode stuff first. So you will come onto the field in the base mode. Her basic attack string is pretty straightforward, just acts as a normal basic attack string. It'll build some signature energy. You don't really have any reason to use this ever currently. However, it does have one unique property. If you hold down basic attack at the end of the string, Liv will charge up a lightning arrow and fire it off. This does a couple things that are unique. So one, as you can see, it's actually built up some dark flow stacks. So keep this string in mind down the road when we're actually figuring out how the dark flow team works. That may be something we want to utilize. I won't know until we actually start getting dark flow rotations kind of hashed out, and it is pretty slow to get to this, so don't know if it's going to be a key part of the dark flow rotation, but do keep in mind that does build up some dark flow stacks. The other thing that lightning arrow will do is it will give you one of her flying blade core passives here. As you can see down here in the gauge, there are 4 separate feathers looking things. They're basically called flying blades. I'm going to probably call them heavenly blades and heavenly feathers and mix and match a bunch of names because when have I ever been consistent? Anyway, but that basic attack string will build one of these if you do not have any built up yet. Do keep in mind that as long as your Liv is double S, you are going to come onto the field with a full 4 set of her flying blades. You will not have to build these when you first bring Liv on the field, but if you're doing multiple ult rotations in a single cycle, then that is one way to refill these. However, again, you're not really going to use her basic attack string. It serves no purpose right now, at least from my personal testing. As always, feel free to mess around, see if you find anything useful while you're flubbing about with it. Next unique thing that Liv has going on is that her dodge actually has an attack attached to it. So if you dodge with Liv in base mode, she will call down a lightning strike. This can actually chain between multiple enemies if you have multiple enemies on the field. So neat little addition to her kit. Again, doesn't really serve any practical purpose because in base form, all we really care about is getting enough signature energy to get ourselves into ultimate mode as quickly as possible. Because like most attackers, the vast majority of Liv's damage is based around being in her ultimate mode and using her final ultimate. So this, again, won't really be a key part of your rotations or anything like that, but it is a neat thing to have and might come in handy in alternate game modes or high-end difficulty game modes like Battle Towers, stuff like that. Could be a useful tool to keep track of. So I'm going to get rid of the dark flow stacks just so we're on a more normal entry level here. So let's go over Liv's orbs next. In base mode, she only has access to red and yellow orbs. These basically serve two main purposes. One, pinging them will give you signature energy, just like any set of signal orbs will. But more importantly, these will also build more of the flying blades for her core passive. If you do a 1 or 2 ping of any given orb, you will get 1 flying blade. If you do a 3 ping, you will get 2 flying blades. So if you are in a position where you have no flying blades built up, your core passive stack is completely empty, 2 3 pings will get the job done, and you will be good to go from there. The orbs themselves, her yellow orb does a spinning slash and then does a second attack afterwards. This is also her bring-in attack, although that doesn't really matter for anything in terms of her base rotations, but it is the same attack she will use when she is first brought on the field, as long as she's close enough to the enemy to actually trigger it. And then, I guess we can show the red orb before I reset here. The red orb will summon a large lightning orb that does continuous damage and stuns the enemy a bit. This also can group up enemies if they're smaller, so this is a nice thing to have just in your back pocket for Warzone, grouping up enemies, stuff like that. Let's go ahead and reset so we get some fresh orbs here. The other key thing about Liv's orbs in base mode is that if you have played with her prior frame, the Imperia frame, which was her fire amplifier form, the fire amplifier before we got Vera, these orbs will feel very comfortable to you. They're not combo orbs, so if I do a red 3 ping, the next red 3 ping doesn't have any unique properties. It's still just doing 2 red 3 pings. What is unique about these orbs is that they chain together very, very fast. You can blast through your orbs really quickly in base mode. So if I just start massing, you'll see that you can just blast through sets of orbs like nothing. This is very useful, very important, because when we start getting into the higher end rotations that I've developed, key part is getting back into base form and building up your core passive as quickly as possible so you can get back into your ultimate mode. So let me go ahead and reset, get some more signal orbs, such as the curse of doing everything in training mode. But that's basically it for how her orbs work. They're very, very straightforward. Their entire purpose is to help you build enough core passive gauge to quickly set up the ability to get into your ultimate mode. They're very simple to use. You will find this very, very easy. There's no real cute tricks or anything like that. You don't need to dodge cancel these or anything. You just kind of use your 3 pings, get your flying blades, and go from there. As for her actual core passive, in base mode, her only core passive is the flying blades. As mentioned, if your Liv is SS, which she should be, 1 copy plus your pain cage skulls, you will always start with Liv coming on the field with 4 blades stocked up. So you don't need to build them up. You don't need to spend any signal orbs when she first comes on the field. Your core passive gauge is effectively full and ready to rock out of the gate. Now, what do we do with the core passive gauge? Well, simply put, once you have 4 of these flying blades built up, a new skill unlocks where Liv can hold dodge to consume the flying blades and build up a ton of signature energy while dropping some damage on the enemy. So if we hold dodge, you'll see big lightning strike happens, Matrix is procced if it's available, our QTEs are procced if they're available, and we get an absolute boatload of signature energy, and now we are down to no flying blades left. So this is basically going to be how you start every single rotation with Liv. You're going to bring her on the field, and you just immediately hold dodge, because you don't need to build up the stacks. They come for free if you're at SS. You just hold dodge. That's going to build you up enough gauge to go ahead and get ultimate online. That's it. It actually is that simple. Liv's every basic thing you're ever going to do with Liv when she comes on the field is bring in, hold dodge. Like, if you can figure that part out, you've already figured out the first half of playing Liv in practical context for things like Warzone and Pain Cage. So just to show the building up of the core passive while we're still in base mode here. So if I do, let's take this 2 ping in the middle here, you will see we gain 1 feather, but if I do a 3 ping, we gain 2 feathers. So that's how all of her orbs work. If you do a 1 or 2 ping, you get 1 of her core passive gauge. If you do a 3 ping, you'll get 2. So 2 3 pings fills up the core passive gauge completely. This will enable the dodge ability come back online, and we can use it again if we need to. This also, I think I mentioned, but this also groups enemies. This is nice because, again, Liv's Cub does not have any grouping on it. So this whole dodge ability is quite nice for everything. It gives you your signature energy, it gets you in ult mode, and it groups up all the enemies so they're right there to take the full brunt of what you're going to unleash them once you get into ultimate mode. So that's basically the entirety of her base form. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Not a whole lot to talk about in terms of what's going on there. So let's go ahead, hold dodge, keep all our orbs intact, and go ahead and get into her ultimate form. So once you go into ultimate form, you will see we have a new core passive gauge, and our orbs have been replaced with blue orbs and a single fixed white orb at the front of the signal orb bar. So in ultimate mode, a few things change around. Liv's basic attack no longer has any unique properties. There's no special way to do a charge or anything like that. It is just a basic string. You will never, ever, ever use it. There is no point to be mashing basic while you're in ultimate mode. You have far better things to do. When you first activate ultimate mode, if you are at SS3 or higher, you will gain 2 of the white orbs. These are very similar to the orbs we've been seeing in other modern characters. The Devil May Cry characters have white orbs. Han Ying has her white orbs. There's plenty of characters that have these now, so this should look pretty familiar to you at this point. If you are at SS3 or higher, you get 2 white orbs for free when you transition into ultimate mode. If you are below SS3, you will start with 0 white orbs available. So how the orbs work in this mode is her blue orbs are in fact a combo orb, so they are a 2-part sequence. So if I do a 3 ping, you'll see the orbs change shape briefly. That means that you can do the second half of the orb and do a unique attack. So if we go 3 ping, 3 ping, you'll see Liv follows up with another slash. This builds up more white orbs. Same concept applies with the blue orbs that applied to the yellow and red orbs. If you do a 1 or 2 ping, you will get 1 white orb. If you do a 3 ping, you will get 2 white orbs. And the white orbs max out at 4 total. You can never have more than 4 of these stocked in the top bar at any one time. So what do we do with the white orbs? So pinging the fixed orb, the first orb on your bar, will consume a white orb. You can chain these together as long as you have white orbs available, and each one you cast will build 1/4 of her core passive gauge. This gauge down here represents her flow stacks. For every 1 white orb you ping, you will get 25 flow stacks, and it maxes out at a total of 100 for maximum here. So very simple gauge, very straightforward and understand. It's not too hard to figure out how to work the characters. So I'm going to go ahead and restart so we can keep going in sequence here. So just to show you exactly what this is going to look like for all the rotations, we're going to bring Liv in. You can immediately hold dodge. Ult comes online, we're already back in ult mode. Nice, simple, super easy to do. Since Matrix will have procced, if you are at SS3 or higher, you can literally do a single 3 ping, and you already have all your orbs online and ready to go. You have 4 white orbs. That's all you ever need to get accomplished what we need to do with Liv. So it's pretty straightforward once you're at SS3 or above. But even at only SS, you just do 2 blue 3 pings, and you're going to have a full stock of white orbs available. So once we've figured out how to use the orbs and kind of how her core passive gauge works, what exactly are we going to be spending the core passive and the resources we build up with when we're in ultimate mode? So there are 2 options for Liv on how to use her orbs. The first and more important one involves pinging off your white orbs to build up the flow stack gauge and set up for her maximum damage ultimate. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and ping all 4 of these white orbs just to get gauges built up. So now we have a full set of flow stack here. We also are building the gauge that goes around her ultimate button. And this is the Delicate Heart stack mechanic. Delicate Heart is the set of stacks that the more of them you have, the more damage her final ultimate does when you actually cast it at the end of ult mode. Delicate Heart goes up to a total of 12 stacks, and each stack will raise the damage of her ultimate by 7.5%. If you max out at a full 12 and then cast her ultimate, you will get all 12 at 7.5% plus an extra 10% on top. That is a lot of damage. This also matters greatly because if you are using her signature weapon, the base damage of the Delicate Heart boost gets doubled, and then some of her other evolutions and such perks you get for getting her to SS3, SSS, and beyond will also build the delicate heart stacks. So this is how we set up for our biggest damage ultimates. This is how we drop the most damage with Liv, is getting this gauge built all the way up to maximum before we cast her ultimate. The easiest way to build up a bunch of delicate heart and get your highest damage ultimate is once you've got a full flow stack, once her core passive gauge is filled, you have two options. You can either hold down the white orb, the fixed orb, or you can hold down basic attack, and Liv will go into a sequence where she will start consuming the flow gauge to do a large, giant grouping attack that builds basically everything. It's going to build signature energy, it's going to build the delicate heart stacks, and it's going to basically set up for the maximum damage ultimate. So if I go ahead and hold down the white orb, you'll see Liv goes into a sequence where she spins all the flow stacks, and now you can see here we have a full bar for signature energy. The delicate heart gauge is completely maxed out, and you'll notice when we went through that attack of holding down the white orb, we also procced our QTEs in the process, just like all the S5 skills tend to do these days. Once you are to this point, you have a maximum ultimate gauge, you can go ahead and cast ultimate. QTEs will activate if they are available on Q-Town. And then we do our ultimate, Liv leaves behind the ultra limit field and goes back to her base form. Now, depending on what you have Liv evolve to, you will either come back in base form to 2 flying blades available or 0. So it's going to depend on what your investment level is. But if you want to get right back into ultimate mode after casting her ultimate, it's as simple as building up your flying blades and holding dodge again. Right back into ultimate mode. Super simple, super straightforward. No fuss, no muss. Very, very easy to do. The other option we have for Liv is basically a fast track to the ultimate that will do much less damage, but will get you to her final ultimate much more quickly. So if you go into the ultimate mode, no matter what investment level you're at, so even if you have no white orbs built up, nothing set up and ready to go, what you will notice is that this flower on her gauge always lights up. What this does is allow us to use Liv's hold dodge skill while she is in ultimate form. And what the hold dodge skill is going to do is it's going to rapidly consume all available orbs to do the same thing in theory that using the white orbs do. It's going to build up a bunch of signature energy, and it's going to build up a very modest amount of the delicate heart gauge. So if I just go ahead and hold dodge, you're going to see we start consuming the orbs. We build up a bunch of signature energy, and we get our ultimate online. But as you'll notice, we've only got about 1/3 of the stacks of a delicate heart. This would be about 4 right now. So much less damaging than ultimate, but it does get you there much quicker, as you can see. So once we cast that, any blue orbs left over and white orbs get converted back into red and yellow orbs when you go back to base mode. Do note that depending on what evolution you have Liv back at, you will get other orbs refunded for going back into base mode, and it will automatically sort the orbs for you. Red will always be first, yellow will always be second. Because the red and yellow orbs are effectively interchangeable for what they do, it doesn't really matter what color you prioritize to do your 3 pings in base mode. But just note that if you consume all of your orbs in ultimate mode by using the hold dodge, you're going to come back to very little orb currency available to use when you're back in base mode. You do get refunds based on your investment level, but again, the fast ultimate comes with a high price, which is 1, it's a much lower damaging ultimate, and 2, it consumes way more orbs than doing the long setup for the ultimate when you're in ultimate form. So let's go ahead and get back into ult form because there's a couple other things I want to talk about while we're in here. So once we're in ultimate form, Liv does also get some other unique options. The main one being that if you do a dodge without holding a direction, Liv goes into a parry. This works like most other parries. If you happen to parry an incoming attack, you can hit the attack button to do a counter attack. This will build a small amount of signature energy and grant you 1 single blue orb. So it will get you extra orbs if you need it. Obviously, for a standard rotation Warzone run, you're never going to sit around wait for something to swing at you and do a parry. But for more obtuse game modes or high difficulty game modes, do note that she does have this parry available. It is something you can utilize if you want to style on an enemy. Always fun to have those available, but for everyday driver purposes, it's not going to do a whole lot once you're in ultimate modes. That's basically everything Liv does in terms of how you get in and out of her ultimate mode, how you utilize it. The main things to remember are just that you have 2 tracks to the ultimate. It's either you go through the whole sequence of building up white orbs, using all of them, and then doing the big attacks so that you burn all the flow stacks, build up your delicate heart meter, and get a maximum damage ultimate. Or you're going to go into ultimate mode, immediately hold down dodge, or maybe do a single blue 3 ping and then hold down dodge to get yourself enough signature energy to just cast ultimate and get it off as soon as you possibly can, regardless of how much the final damage equates to. Something to note for lower investment, and I'll talk about this when I go over the rotations I've developed, is that oftentimes the best way to get the most out of the dodge ability while you're in ultimate mode is to come in and do something like a single blue 3 ping into the hold dodge. The reason this is valuable is that using a blue 3 ping is still going to build you signature energy, just like using any other 3 ping would. So you get some signature energy used, but you still get 2 more white orbs back, and the white orbs get prioritized for the hold dodge ability. It will use the white orbs first and the blue orbs second when you do the hold dodge, and that ability will only ever consume a maximum of 12 total orbs. So if I go ahead and get back into ultimate mode here. So as you can see right now, we have a matrix set up and 2 white orbs. So if I hold dodge, this is going to use 1 matrix ping, the 2 white orbs, and then the rest of the blue orbs available. We still have some orbs left over because that matrix ping only uses a single orb but counts for 3. But just note that if you have 12 orbs and you activate the hold dodge when you don't have any matrix procs going on, if you have 12, they're gone. You're going to be completely out of orbs, and that's that. So this, again, I'll go over the details of this when we go through each individual rotation, but just note that the hold dodge will consume all your orbs very, very quickly, and it will make your options for doing second rotations very, very limited. One other thing I want to talk about in particular that's very, very unique to Liv is her 2 options for doing time stop outside of her ultimate. So first and foremost, if you have Liv at SSS. Let me get back into ultimate mode real quick. Excuse me, I had to parse a cough there. So if you have Liv at SSS and you build up the full stack of flow gauge and then go into the hold the white orb or hold basic. I don't know if I mentioned that. You can also hold basic attack to do the attack that consumes all the flow gauge and builds up the delicate heart stacks and all that. Either one works fine, whatever is more comfortable for you. But the important thing to note is that when you do the full consumption of the flow gauge, so if you have 100 flow stacks and you do both sections of the consuming gauge, when you hold down the white orb or hold down basic with flow available, it's basically a 2-part skill. It will consume the first half of the gauge if it's available, and if you have the second half, then it will consume the second half as the skill goes on. You can do the hold basic attack with only half a flow gauge. However, you're going to lose all the properties that really make it good to do in the first place, because as you've noticed, using the white orbs and using the flow gauge is not quick. They are long animations. There is a price to be paid to get to that super high damage ultimate. So you can do this with only half a flow gauge. In all my testing, I found no good reason to do this. All it does is not get you as much signature energy, doesn't get you near as much damage on the ultimate, but you still wasted a bunch of time going through the animation. The important thing here is if you have a SSS or higher Liv, the second half of the hold fixed orb or hold basic skill, once you have maximum flow stacks, will do time stop. So watch up here on the timer as I hold down the button and do this skill. You're going to see it freeze. So we go here, and then if I call the QTEs, you'll see they actually freeze their cooldown. This is tried and true time stop on a skill that is not her ultimate. This means if you have a SSS Liv and you're going through the rotation that I'm going to show you, you're going to get time stop on the hold down basic skill and on your ultimate. You just get 2 instances of time stop back to back. We've never seen this before. This is the first time we've ever had time stop on something that is not an ultimate. So this is why I mentioned that SSS evolution for Liv is a big deal, because it is. That is a very, very unique thing. And it's probably going to really create some interesting branch-off paths for how we utilize rotations going forward. The other thing that Liv has that's available to any rank, regardless of your investment, is that Liv can also get time stop on her QTE. If you notice, Liv has a giant big circle around her QTE gauge over here. This is what are called I believe it's called sonnets stacks. This goes up to a total of 150, and this can be built up in multiple ways. Depending on your investment level, you can build up some sonnets while Liv is on the field and doing her rotations. But if Liv is off field, every second she will gain 10 stacks of sonnets. So after 15 seconds, she will have a full 150 stacks of sonnets available. When you use Liv's QTE with this completely filled, when this circle is completely filled, this is going to do a QTE where Liv comes on the field and the camera actually focuses on her, and we get an instance of time stop. So again, watch the timer. I'm going to go ahead and call Liv. You'll see it transfers the camera. Oh, whoops. I actually did bring in my bad. One more time. So we'll let this build up. I'll go ahead and bring Nana Knight in because that'll be an easy way to trigger the QTEs. So I'm going to let the sonnet stacks build up. I have to wait. That's my punishment for not knowing how to do things properly. Anyway, so if I go ahead and we'll do Nanami's hold basic to trigger QTEs. So if you watch, if I call in Liv, you'll see the camera swaps to her and the time stops while she does her QTE. So we have a character that can time stop on her ultimates, on a hold basic skill if you have her at SSS, and on her QTE at least once a cycle. This is very, very interesting and very, very unique, and it's going to take some interesting playing around to get used to this, because it is somewhat jarring to call your QTE and have the entire thing just go record scratch and focus on your QTE character. It's a very interesting and awkward thing at first, but obviously very powerful. Having extra time stop for calling your QTE, which, you know, you're going to be doing anyway, you probably want your Da Vinci procs, is a very new wrinkle, and it's been interesting to try and build around it and understand how it works, you know, at the best possible rate. I am not entirely sure that I'm doing stuff that maximizes this new technique yet, and I think it's going to take a lot of finagling and testing to really figure out how to maximize it. But just note that if you are on a QTE and you see the sonnets gauge getting close to full and you can hold off on that QTE for another second or two, it may very well be worth it to delay your QTE slightly just to get that time stop available. So it's a very powerful ability, but it also means it's one more thing you're going to have to keep track of while you are in the middle of a rotation, because that time stop is going to kind of mess with your flow a little bit. Everything freezes ever so briefly. So if you are playing a character that has a lot of complex executions, or you're in the middle of doing a combo or something like that, just note that if you call Liv to the field and she has that full set of sonnet stacks, you're going to get a brief freeze in the action. You're going to have to adjust and be ready for that. So just something to kind of calculate and be ready for there. That more or less covers all the stuff that's of notable import for Liv in terms of her combat kit. She has a lot of the other things, as mentioned in the evolutions. If you go through and do her ultimate and then send her off the field, she will do the attacks that strike enemies from off field, just like other attackers have done. So if I go ahead and then get over here, we bring in Nanami, you'll see lightning strikes start coming down. This is Liv's version of the off-field I do damage once I leave attack. So you'll have that available, of course, and then just like any other QTE, she will be able to apply shred and all that stuff if you have various sets on her. She's an attacker, so you're probably not going to be doing that, but other than that, she functions like a normal attacker, and that's pretty much the entirety of her kit. It's pretty straightforward. She is not terribly difficult to play. There's no real cute, complex executions to make this work. One other thing I do want to note real quick is that the white orbs, the flower orbs, these can technically be canceled with the parry. So you can do stuff like white orb parry to to kind of stunt the animation down. I have found there's not really a good reason to do this for a couple things. One, it lessens the amount of delicate heart you get for pinging the white orbs. And two, it doesn't really speed up the process at all. All it really is going to do is neuter the damage on your ultimate, because all you're doing is denying yourself more delicate heart stacks. So while you can dodge cancel this to some extent, I don't find a purpose in it yet. Maybe there will be one down the road. We've seen a lot of characters find animation cancels. Vera Garavor comes to mind, using the dodge cancel to get through her hold basic attack when she's in her flame mode quicker. But right now, as far as I can tell, this doesn't serve any practical purpose or make Liv's kit any faster or more effective. But that pretty much covers everything you're going to need to know to play her in her lightning-based kit. As mentioned, I'll go over Dark Flow stuff once we kind of know how the Dark Flow team is actually going to function in practice. I will do a full Dark Flow guide, but I don't want to inject that into this guide because it'll just get lost in the shuffle and all that good stuff. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead, start looking at some potential rotation options for Liv now that you know how to play her. All right, so let's talk about potential rotation ideas for Liv. As mentioned earlier, I know you all are sick of hearing it, but I need to repeat it because I don't want to get a billion comments being like, this rotation is bad. Like, these are not meant to be, hey, here's the best possible rotation. You don't have to think anymore. These are conceptual rotations I have come up with through my testing that make sense to me and make sense in terms of getting the most efficiency out of Liv's kit within the confines of her team right now. Because 21 is so outdated, the core concept for me in making these rotations was, how do I do rotations where Liv gets to do maximum damage as the attacker for the team, while also setting it up so it can just be her and Nanami taking the field and no one else. If you are running a more budget team, if you are running a different team setup than what I have for these rotations, you're probably going to have to make some adjustments. You may want to keep Liv on the field for a third or even fourth rotation, depending on what your options are otherwise. If you're running a completely budget team, you're a new player, and Liv is the only S rank on the team, you might want to figure out how to keep Liv on the field as long as humanly possible. So just keep that in mind. This is within the confines of the meta team and maximizing field time for both Liv and Nanami based on what evolution you have Liv at. So for this first rotation, this is going to be for SS. This will work with her signature weapon and without her signature weapon. It is not required to make this rotation function. It works just fine with the 5-star weapon with no issues whatsoever. But the idea for this first rotation I'm going to show you is, I am bringing in Liv first, having her do a single ultimate rotation, then swapping to Nanami to have Nanami do her standard double ult rotation, and then for the rest of the stage, Liv will do a double ult rotation. Now, whether or not you want to start with Liv or Nanami first at SS is going to depend entirely on the investment level of your Nanami, because below SS3, Liv does not get the passive bonus where she gets extra damage on her QTE once she has used her final ultimate once. So you may not want to actually start with Liv in a Warzone run if you're only at SS, because there's no unique benefit to getting her through a rotation quicker unless it's just better for wiping out waves more efficiently for what your investment level is based on your team. So this will be the only one where there will be a first rotation and then a second rotation. If you find that bringing in Nanami first is a better setup for your specific team at your specific investment, you can skip the first part of this rotation I'm going to show you and go directly to the second part, which is a 2-ult rotation. The first rotation is going to be a single ult rotation, but the concepts and ways these rotations work are all very, very similar. There is not a lot of deviation in these rotations, but there is just enough that I feel it's important to go through each individual investment and show you how they work. So this is SS with signature weapon or without, does not matter. And let's go through piece by piece. And then, like always, I'll run it at full speed, do the annotations, have those off to the side so you can practice and get it into your muscle memory and stuff. So just for reference, the way we start these rotations is always going to be the same. Every single time you bring Liv on the field, doesn't matter when you're doing it, the very first thing you're going to do is swap her in and hold dodge. Again, if your Liv is SS, and she should be, You're going to have your 4 flying blades already built up. There's no reason to pig orbs. There's no reason to do anything but just immediately hold dodge, consume the blades, and get yourself into ult mode. So bring in, hold dodge. For this rotation, you go ahead and call QTEs here. So I call Nana Knight first because she has the ability to do hers, and then you call 21, which procs Da Vinci, so you can call a second Nanami QTE, but you can call QTEs during the first ult animation. Once we come out of the first ult and get into her ultimate mode, very, very simple and straightforward. We're going to do 2 blue 3 pings back to back. This builds us our full 4 set of white orbs to use to build up our flow stacks. From here, you're going to do 4 white orb pings in a row. And then once you see the 4th white orb gone that you've made the ping happen, you can either continue holding down the white orb to go into the charge attack, or you can hold basic attack. Whatever's more comfortable for you, whatever works better for your controller setup, they work identical. But either way, it's either hold the white orb or hold the basic attack. Then we go into the attack that builds all, or that consumes all of the flow gauge, builds up our ultimate, and then as soon as this animation finishes, you can start casting ultimate. If you go back here, you'll see it's very, very late in this animation when you get the last bit of the delicate heart stacks. But once you start seeing this latter part of the animation, you can start mashing on the ultimate button, because this animation, the hold white orb or hold basic attack that consumes all the flow stacks, can't be canceled with the ultimate. So once you get to this part, just start mashing your ultimate button, and then it will go immediately as soon as the ultimate is able to go off, and you'll get credit for the maximum delicate heart stacks. This is also nice. The reason I have you call your QTEs at the start of the first ult is they will be back up just in time to be cast for the main ult. So we go into main ult, call the QTEs one more time, and then from here we're going to go ahead and swap off to Nanami. Again, if you start with Nanami, you can skip this first rotation. You don't need to do the single ult rotation. You can go directly into the double ult rotation that I'm going to show you afterwards. So from here, Nanami does her standard stuff, goes through. We do a double ult rotation with her. You all know how this works by now. And then we'll bring Liv back on the field, and we're going to start the second rotation. So again, if you are a double S player, you find starting Nana Knight makes more sense, just do the rotation from here. Omit the first setup rotation and just go directly into the double S second rotation. From here, this is going to look identical to the first rotation we did. So come in, hold dodge, go into the ultimate mode, call QTEs if they're available. Going to do 2 blue 3 pings again to build up our white orbs, burn all 4 white orbs. From here, you either hold the white orb or hold basic, burn all the flow stacks, cast the ultimate and call your QTEs, and then we're back in base form. Now, this is the first time where we have to manually build up our flying blade stacks because we don't have them innately. Since we're at double S, we're not going to get the 2 freebies for coming out of the ultimate, so we're going to have to do 2 3 pings. It does not matter what orbs end up here. If you have 3 red and 3 yellow, that works. As long as you have 2 3 pings when you come out of this ultimate, you are good to go. And no matter what weapon you're using or how you have Liv set up, you should have more than enough orbs to facilitate the second ultimate. So we're going to do 2 3 pings, which again happens very quick because you can cancel these into each other very rapidly. That gets us back to our 4 flying blades. And then we hold dodge to go back into ult mode. Now, since we are trying to maximize field time between Liv and Nanami, rather than doing another full buildup of building up the white orbs and holding down the button and doing the full animation and doing the full damage ultimate, in this case, we're going to do a fast ultimate because that's going to make it so Nanami comes back up almost right as Liv is finished with his second ultimate. So for this, instead of building up a full set of flower stacks, what we're going to do is a single blue 3 ping. You will need to do this. If you try to hold dodge right as you go into this mode, you're going to come up just short on signature energy, even with Kadi equipped. So it's very important you do this blue 3 ping first. After you do the blue 3 ping, you can immediately hold dodge. So from here, we're holding dodge. We consume all the orbs. This builds up just enough signature energy to get us to our ultimate. We cast our ultimate. QTEs won't be back up for this because it's a fast ultimate. And then from here, we swap out to Nanami again. from here, you just repeat the rotation the rest of the way. Nana Knight does her double ultimate. Liv comes on, does her double ultimate rotation. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, really, really easy to pick up. There's not any cute execution quirks or anything I really have to teach you for this one. It's pretty straightforward, all things considered. So let's go ahead and go through in real time. I will annotate with my voice, put the annotations off to the side so you have those to practice and can pause anytime you need to. But double S, Liv rotation, no signature weapon required. Swap in, hold dodge. Alt 1, QTEs. Blue 3 ping, blue 3 ping. 4 white pings. Hold the white orb. Ultimate 2. Call your QTEs. Swap out. Nanami does her double ultimate rotation. Liv comes back in. Swap in, hold dodge. Ultimate, QTE. 2 blue 3 pings. 4 white pings. Hold the white orb. Ultimate, call your QTEs. 2 3 pings in a row. Hold dodge. Alt 1. 1 blue 3 ping. Hold dodge. Alt 2. Swap Liv out. There's your double S rotation for Liv, regardless of if you have her signature weapon or not. So from here, let's go ahead and move on to the double S3 rotation options. All right, so double S3 rotations, I have a couple options for you. One is going to be kind of the everyday driver that should work in 99% of the stuff you're doing. So Warzone, Norman, any long-running stage, we're going to do multiple character rotations. This first one will be what you want to focus on. I do have a very niche, fast double ultimate rotation that will probably be useful for Pain Cage, but we'll go over that here in a little bit. So for double S3, it's going to look very similar to the double rotation section of double S. The only difference is now we get to skip a couple steps due to the double S3 passives that are given to us in terms of building up orb currency. So going to start at exactly the same, bring Liv in, immediately dodge. You're going to get real tired of me saying this, but every single rotation starts the same. Liv swaps in, hold dodge. So cast our first ultimate. We call the QTEs now. The one wrinkle about this is that because double S3 actually gets to the full ultimate quicker due to getting free bonus orbs as a passive, our QTEs are not going to be back online for the full big Bombo ultimate. I tested holding on to the QTEs and doing them with the full ultimate, and testing doing them right now and then being able to get one more set of QTEs before Liv leaves the field. I found this one to do more damage consistently. You may want to double check with your investment. It might be better for you to hold the QTEs for the big bomb ultimate, but in my testing, it was much better to get 2 rounds of QTE procs that aren't on the big ultimate than just saving it for the giant ultimate. But your mileage may vary, something worth considering in testing. But anyway, call your QTEs. We go in here. First new wrinkle at double S3 is since we have the passive that gives us 2 free white orbs when we transfer into ultimate mode, we only need a single blue 3 ping to get to our set of 4. So we come in, immediately do a blue 3 ping, and now we have our 4 set of white orbs online. We go ahead and spam all 4 of those. After the 4th one, either hold down the white orb or hold basic attack, whichever makes more sense for you. That will get our full ultimate online. We cast the full ultimate, and then we go back into base mode. Now, just like with the ultimate mode, we get 2 freebies on the flying blades when coming out of ult with double S3 because of the other passive we get from that evolution. That means we only need a single 3 ping to get our stack of 4, so we do a single 3 ping, immediately start holding dodge, consume the blades, and we go back into ult mode once again. Now, since we're at double S3 and we get the free orbs coming into ult mode, this means we can now go into a fast ultimate without pinging anything. So for this second ultimate, you get into ult mode and you immediately hold dodge. You'll hold down dodge, it'll consume the 12 orbs, that'll get ultimate online, QTEs will be up just in time to proc for this ultimate, and then as soon as it's over, Liv swaps off the field. So very simple, pretty straightforward, very, very similar to the SS rotation. Just gonna omit a couple steps because we get those double S3 passes to speed up, passives, excuse me, to speed things up. So let's go through it in real time. The double S3 rotation. This also still works without the signature weapon. You do not need the signature weapon for this, but again, you know all the benefits of that by now. But this will work with the 5-star weapon if you're at double S3 but don't have the weapon for whatever reason. So double S3 Liv rotation. Swap in, hold dodge. Ultimate 1, call your QTEs. 1 blue 3 ping, 4 white pings. Hold the white orb. Ultimate. Out of the ultimate, 1 3 ping, hold dodge. Ult 1. Hold dodge. Ult 2, call your QTEs. Swap Liv out. There is your double S3 rotation for basically all the normal stuff you'll be doing. Again, Warzone, Norman, Clash Reflection, all of that stuff. This will serve you just fine at this investment level. So let's go on to the more niche double S3 rotation I have come up with. All right, so at double S3 with deadline timing, Liv does gain access to a double fast ult rotation. Now, this is only really going to be useful for nuking pain cage bosses. The only other situation I can see this coming in handy as a rotation to keep in your back pocket outside of pain cage would be if you're in a situation where you're at the end of a Warzone run and you have a wave that is getting close to being wiped but isn't quite there, and you don't think you have enough time to build up and do a normal rotation with Liv before the clock runs out. This might be a way to sneak in some extra time stop and possibly clear that one extra wave on your Warzone run. But the main purpose of this one should be basically considering this a pain cage option. Again, this does require deadline timing. Without deadline timing, you cannot do a double fast ultimate rotation right out the gate with Liv. So keep that in mind if you're not willing to put DLT on her and get her signature weapon with a resonance. You should just forget this exists for now because there's no way to do it realistically without DLT. But let's go ahead and go through it. It's pretty straightforward and simple to figure out. So as always, we bring Liv in, and I'm going to flashbang everyone by stopping on the wrong frame. Go into our ultimate. From here, we don't have to do anything special. We're just going to immediately do the hold dodge, consume all the orbs, and do a fast ultimate. So out of the ultimate, because, man, I'm really good at flashbanging you guys today. Because we did not do a full ultimate, because we did not build up to max delicate heart stacks, we don't get the 2 freebies on our flying blades out of this rotation. So we're going to have to do 2 3 pings in a row to get back up to 4. Now, because the orbs chain together so quickly, it's barely noticeable from doing the single 3 ping, but do note you do have to hit 2 3 pings coming out of this. This is another reason deadline timing is required, because we're chewing through orbs very, very quickly in this rotation. But we go ahead, do our 2 3 pings, get our blades back online, hold dodge, go back into ult mode. Now this time, instead of immediately holding dodge, what we need to do is use a single blue 3 ping. This is going to build up just enough signature energy while converting into white orbs to give us just enough to do the hold dodge from here. And as you can see, it just barely gets the ultimate online. We take every last orb we've got in the bucket, and we get just enough to do our second ultimate. From here, cast your second ultimate, and then Liv swaps out if the person after Liv is available. Again, if you're in a war zone and you've just swapped out Nana Knight before swapping to Liv and doing this rotation, she's not going to be back up off cooldown yet. But again, think of this as a pain cage rotation and basically nothing else, but let's go through it in real time. So this will be double S3 with deadline timing, double fast ultimate. Swap in, hold dodge. QTEs, ult 1, hold dodge, ult 2, 2 3 pings, hold dodge, blue 3 ping, hold dodge again, ultimate. Swap Liv out or hope your pain cage boss is dead. So there is your double fast ultimate, double S3 with deadline timing equipped. Let's move on to the triple S rotation. All right, so at triple S, what I have found in my testing is that even with the bonuses and passives you get at Triple S, there is no way to fit in 2 ultimates in a single amplifier buff outside of the double fast ultimate rotation I just showed you at double S3 and above with deadline timing. But again, that's really only useful for pain cage bosses because you're gonna have downtime between Nana Knight and Liv if you use it. So at Triple S, after a bunch of testing, what I found is that because we get the time stop now on the hold white orb or hold basic attack in ult mode, that basically sets us up well to do 2 full ultimates, both with QTEs going off for the big Bombo ultimate. So at Triple S and above, at least what I have found so far, the best option is doing a double ult rotation where both ultimates are the full entire build up the biggest possible ultimate. So nothing really changes in terms of how we get there. It works exactly the same as getting to your full ultimate in the other rotations. We just get the bonuses of the time stop and of course the double S3 proc where we get the free white orbs and the free flying blades when we transfer into the 2 different modes Liv has. So the other important thing to note about this one is that this is the one rotation where you absolutely positively want to delay your QTEs until you get to your final ultimate. The reason for that is that because of the time stop, that means it takes longer for your QTEs to come back because QTEs are affected by time stop, but Liv's animations are not. She continues going through her animation and burning through all the flow stacks. So if you burn your QTEs early, they will not be back up for your first big Bombo ultimate. And in my testing, that was actually a pretty massive damage loss. It was kind of wild how much damage was sacrificed by doing the QTEs early and not saving them for the ultimate. So otherwise, this is going to look very similar. So as always, Liv comes in, hold dodge, go ahead and do your first ultimate. And again, do not call your QTEs. Leave them hanging for now. From here, same thing as before. We do a single blue 3 ping, get our 4 white orbs, span all 4 white orbs, and then do the hold white orb or basic. Once you are in the process of holding the white orb or the basic and burning the flow stacks, you can go ahead and start calling the QTEs. So you'll see right here, I actually start calling them as we're going through this animation. We'll still get the buff for Da Vinci, and the first ultimate goes off. So, man, I am king of flashbanging y'all day. I apologize. After that first ultimate, we get our 2 freebie blades because we cast full ultimate with max delicate heart stacks. Therefore, we only need a single 3 ping to get 4 blades. We hold dodge again, go back in, and we repeat the process. 1 blue 3 ping, 4 white pings, hold the white orb or basic to use all the flow stacks, call your QTEs as soon as they're up, cast a second full ultimate, and then swap Liv out. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This might actually be the easiest of the rotations because it is literally doing the exact same thing twice. So very straightforward. The only wrinkle is just making sure you hold on to those QTEs so you don't waste the first ultimate's damage on without a Da Vinci proc. Otherwise, really straightforward. So let's go through it. Triple S for Liv does not require deadline timing. So here we go. Swap in, hold dodge, ult 1. Blue 3 ping, 4 white orbs, hold the white orb, call your QTEs, ult 2. 3 ping, hold dodge, ult 1. Blue 3 ping, 4 white orbs, hold the white orb, call your QTEs, ult 2. Swap out. There are all the rotations for Liv that I was able to come up with that made any semblance of sense to me. Now, again, I was very close a couple times to getting 2 ultimates within the amplifier buff by doing a full ultimate and then a fast ultimate. I never got it to work once. It didn't matter what cute shenanigans I tried. It didn't matter what kind of dodge cancels I tried to shave off a few frames of animation. As far as I can tell, there is no way to get a full ultimate and a fast ultimate within the QTE window. Now, that doesn't mean someone won't figure it out. And if I had to guess on what the first evolution in Liv's potential damage output would be, I think that's probably the place to start. I could not find a way to do it. But again, I'm just one person testing ahead of time without a whole lot of established ideas behind how this character is going to work in practice. So again, keep these rotations in mind as that they're a baseline. I think these are going to serve you well in Warzone. The next Lightning Week Warzone we get, if you use these based on whatever investment you're at, I think you're going to see pretty good scores out of the deal. But as always, I encourage you all to check out other guides. I encourage you to watch Warzone runs from other players, especially high-end players from other servers, and kind of see what they're doing, how they're maximizing the most that the character has available. But in terms of getting you going and giving you nice, straightforward rotations to work with to make your Liv do what she's going to do as an attacker and nuking enemies off the field, I think these will all hold you over really well. So, as always, I have yapped way too long, which is what I like to do because, I don't know, I just like wasting y'all's time, I guess. But let's go ahead and wrap this guide up and get out of here. Alright, so that's going to put a wrap on Liv's guide. Liv is thankfully not super complex to operate within the confines of the Lightning team, and that makes me feel a bit more confident in what I was able to come up with for the rotations to get you all started with her. There's been some pretty big changes to the content creator guidelines in the last month, and I did not get a chance to actually start testing Liv till much later than I normally would have. So it's been a bit of a crunch to get this guide out. I'm not going to lie to you all. If there are some inaccuracies or some stuff that contradicts one another, or you just see something that looks ever so slightly sloppy in the editing or something, that's probably why, and I apologize for that in advance. But with the first truly globally synced patch, there's still some stuff they're working out and stuff, and this was not unexpected, but it did put a bit of a crunch on the guide. So, but it is what it is. We got through it. Everything's all good here. I also mentioned in a community post, but I currently am no longer allowed to share anything in video form, photo form, basically in any shape or form until it is actually released on the global server. So if you're wondering why there is no video previewing what all is coming in Liv's patch, well, that's why I legitimately am not allowed to show you any of it right now. I have been in communications with the content creator program liaisons and giving them my thoughts on how they're approaching this and what I think might work a little better, might, benefit both the game and the content creators more, but hard to say what they want to do. Sometimes companies just do not want anything leaked, even if it's stuff they've already talked about, if it's not actually released on the gameplay servers. So just keep in mind that going forward, there's a good chance I won't be able to do a lot of preview stuff just because of the content creator guidelines. So I will do what I can, but it also means that guides won't go up until literally the character comes out, which is perfectly fine. That's usually how I intend to have the guides go up on the channel anyway, so that's not a big deal, but it does mean I can't tell you all the stuff of like, hey, here's the coatings that are coming. Here are all the rewards you can get from the various new events, stuff like that. So just keep that in mind going forward. I will find some other stuff to supplement in terms of making videos, though. But more importantly, I'm curious how you all are feeling about Liv in this form. Is she meeting your expectations and replacing one of the most beloved characters in the game? It is a big deal to put Crimson Weave on the bench. Crimson Weave has been the poster child for this game since she released, and arguably even prior. Alpha is one of, if not the most popular character in this game amongst the player base. So having someone actually come in and replace her, even though it is a character as beloved as Liv, is a big deal. So I'm curious how you all are feeling about that. What are your plans for rolling Liv and possibly rolling her weapon in Cub? How much is the new limited system impacting your decision making on that? Very curious how y'all are feeling about this one. It's our first globally synced patch, so once you get a chance to mess around with her and play around on the new patch, let me know how you're feeling, what your thoughts are. I'm always curious what you all are doing in terms of, just being a PGR player, whereas I obviously am a player, but I spend a lot of time from the content creator angle, so but anyway, I'm also working on some future plans for the channel. I have some stuff I want to announce. I'm not quite ready to do it yet, but there will be some new video types coming. I've got a lot of goals in mind for 2026 that I want to do with this channel and with my entire content career in general, not just here but on Twitch as well. And there's a lot of stuff going on that's making that more difficult than I would like, mostly this garbage economy, but what are you going to do? But I will have some stuff to announce here in the near future that will definitely impact some future videos, and might even give you all the chance to give some strong input on what some of those videos are. For those of you waiting on lore stuff, I'm still working on it. I'm still rereading everything. I have not had a chance to do that much lately because of some IRL stuff, but it is still my goal to start doing lore-centric videos in 2026. I just need to get a whole lot more read, and I need to start figuring out what those videos actually look like, what kind of form I want them to take. But rest assured that lore content is still kind of my biggest goal going forward in terms of new things I want to add into the basic rotation of the stuff you expect on the channel. So, as always, I have yapped for way too long. This guide is way too verbose. It probably doesn't need to be. Liv ain't that complex. But, as always, if you have any questions or comments, you want to get some ideas on builds or just get some general input from me, feel free to ask down in the comments. I always try to answer those as regularly as I can. If you want to drop by over on my Twitch, I do stream PGR every Wednesday. I haven't the last couple weeks of IRL junk. There is a chance I won't be able to this week either, not because I don't have the time, but because I think we're going to be in server maintenance when I would normally stream. So I may have to bump PGR to another day this week, or do an early stream and figure it out there. Once I know what the plan is, I'll let you all know in a community post. But anyway, as always, I appreciate you all sitting and watching me yap for way too long and listening to my dumb voice for well over an hour about a single character. But if you want to do all the YouTube garbage, like, comment, subscribe, it's always appreciated. It's never necessary. Also, thank you for over 8,000 subscribers. That's absurd. I started PGR this year on this channel with barely over 5K. Did not expect to gain 3,000 subscribers doing this. In fact, I didn't expect to gain any because PGR is kind of niche, but y'all have come in and stuck around, and I really can't thank you enough. It definitely makes the motivation for working on these guides and these bigger project videos a lot easier to find and maintain when you've got a lot of people who apparently like what you're doing. So certainly helps. But anyway, y'all take care. I will catch you in the next one, and enjoy Liv. Peace for now.